Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, and may peace and blessings be sent upon the Messenger Muhammad. The Messenger Muhammad, the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah the Great, has sent as a mercy to mankind, as a mercy to the universe, as a mercy to all of existence, a mercy to Muslims as well as non-Muslims. How do we know to Muslims? Because of course Allah describes him in the Quran, saying that he is merciful and caring for the believers. And to non-Muslims, that when even his own companions would request him to curse certain disbelievers, non-believers, he said, I wasn't sent as one that curses, I was sent as a mercy. And the same way that his mercy reached and encompassed his followers, it reaches and encompasses us today. Because he's the one that taught us that the best of you is the one that's the best to their families. This is why he was caring, loving, compassionate to his families, to his children, to his wives. He would joke with his wives, play with his wives, flirt with his wives, help them around in the house with the daily chores, help with the cleaning. He would have a daily presence. He would be involved in their lives. That's why Aisha, his youngest wife, would narrate that they even used to bathe together from the same water. And children, the way he was with children, the mercy he had with children, he wouldn't forget them. He wouldn't just think over them and look over them. He would smile at them, greet them. And perhaps the most prominent example of this is when he's up on the pulpit. This is in the Friday ceremony in front of all of his followers. And he sees little Hassan, little Hussein, his grandsons, stumbling around, trying to walk, crossing in front of the pulpit. He actually stops the whole sermon, gets down from the pulpit, picks them both up in his arms, gets back on the pulpit, and he says, Allah spoke the truth. Allah spoke the truth. That when he said, know that your family and your wealth are a trial and a tribulation. I couldn't help myself when I saw these little toddlers in front of me that I had to cut my sermon, come down from my pulpit and pick them up in my arms. This is the mercy he had for children. Because mercy was something that was just ingrained to his being. He was just a loving, caring person. He could not be in any way described as lewd or immoral or vulgar. He wasn't the type of petty person to take tit for tat revenge. In fact, Aisha would later on narrate that he never in his whole life raised his hand against a woman or a child or a servant of any sort, except of course when he was out in the cause of Allah. And Anas, he himself would narrate, when Anas himself became an old man, he said that I served in the house of the Prophet for 10 years as a little boy, serving him. He said not once did he ever say, why did you do this? Or why didn't you do this? Because he was kind to him. This is why he said, the merciful ones, the most merciful, meaning Allah, will be merciful to them. Be merciful to those on the earth, and the one in the sky will be merciful to you. And even though it is a given that he was a very fierce warrior, stern, determined, had lots of resolve, his mercy would surpass his anger. And he even though these times of war, he would still have a big heart. How do we know this? For example, the time of Uhud, when he saw his own uncle and his foster brother Hamza martyred and mutilated. Or his cousin Abdullah, same battle, martyred, mutilated. Seeing this sight and seeing all these pagans team up against him and try to shut him down and everything that he has and kill all his followers, he would still make prayers for them and say, Allah, forgive my nation, forgive my people, because they do not know. Have you ever heard of someone doing something like this? Or about the conquest of Mecca? Unprecedented in history. he came into Mecca after these people abused him and tortured him and his followers and boycotted them, let them starve. And after they left Mecca, went to war with them over and over. Now he's in Mecca. Now he has conquered all of Mecca with his followers. And he's coming into Mecca now. He's entered with his armor and his sword in his hand and his helmet on his head and his arrows at his back. And he says to the people of Mecca, what do you think I'm going to do to you? And they said to him, oh, noble brother, son of noble brother, because he was one of the people. He was related to them. He said, there's no blame upon you today. Go. May Allah forgive you, because He's the most merciful of the merciful ones. You're free man. This was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This was the message that he brought. And there is no one else, mind you, in history that you're ever going to find that their life is recorded in such detail. You'll hardly find a word that he said, an action that he did, a tear that fell from his eye, except that it's recorded. And why? It's because he is a prophet. He's a message. His whole life is a living lesson for anyone that wants to be a family man, anyone that wants to be getting themselves closer to Allah, anyone that wants to be calling to any type of positivity, doing any type of positive movement in their life. He is a living example for them. And one of the most prominent features that he had in his life, the most great characteristic that he had in his life, was his love, his honest, sincere love that he had for people. And again, this goes back to all those narrations that I see with his family and how he was interacting with his family. And he taught us to love, taught us to express the love, because he understood, especially with his wives, because he understood that women are creatures that need to feel loved. So he would always express it, even if it was subtle ways. When Aisha would drink from the cup, he would drink from the same cup, drink from the same place that she drank, just to make her feel loved. Or with Khadija, his first wife, the one that was there when he had nobody, and she was the one that supported him. This love was so deep, it surpassed the bounds of life and death. Because even after her death, Aisha used to say, why do you reminisce about this old woman when Allah has given you a better wife? Referring to himself. He would say, I swear that Allah didn't give me a better wife than her. This shows, he's showing us that you can still love your current loves, your current loved ones, and still have love and respect for your past loved ones. So he made everyone, all his wives, feel loved. This was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Love was his methodology. This was his message. This was his message to all mankind. When his son died, you saw the love and the care that came into his being, into his speech. When Ibrahim died, he said, "O Ibrahim, the heart is saddened, the eyes do tear, and we are truly depressed at your departure, Ibrahim." Because this was the natural fatherly loving emotions that he had coming from him. And last but not least was the love he had for his nation. The love he had for his nation. How he would get up night after night after night in night prayer, praying in front of his Lord, saying, Ummati, Ummati, my nation, my nation. This is the dua that he made for you and me, for the love he had for us, so that we may succeed. So this is why I remember him. So may peace and blessings be upon the Prophet.